This is the rap group for Oaks Race and Freedom class, and our group is focusing on modern rap culture. We'll be going in depth on how class, politics, race, and gender play an important role on some of the social commentary rap provides.
We will have an interview and a discussion on modern rap.
Yeah. I'm trying to change this rap culture. Posted above the game, looking down like a vulture. I know I'm posted like a poster, while these other posers play mannequin. God damn it, like backgammon, I'm trying to take a hop with it. Hopscotch, not sipping that scotch in it. A gimmick, yes, you give me your word, you can push the limit. I'm feeling like you give me a minute.
We got Cameron Johnson here, aka Quadroon.
What's up? How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. How you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
Ready to do this interview about rap culture?
Yeah, let's make it happen.
What does it mean to be a rapper to you?
For me, what it means to be a rapper is it means to operate within a specific space of ultimately the whole artistic community. And I think rap is one of the various different kind of recapitulations of ultimately the art about the same thing. And for what it means for me to be a rapper, specifically one who works most in depth with the lyric side of hip hop, is to try to say what can't be said and play fun with that and try to, in the best means that I have been vice versa, impacted by other artists themselves who have been going through relational time periods, thought ideas, expressions, etc. I would be honored or appreciative, or my goal is then to try to, have the same kind of butterfly effect right back. And my music or expression, which could be individually transcribed or created, thus then to expand or contact or hit a wider audience or relate to a more general humanness, that we all kind of underlie, whether we're quote unquote rappers or we're podcasters or we're painters or we're computer game designers or we're computer science majors. We all have our little art in a specific little kind of niche. And so my niche, my thing is words. And I like to use words to say what can't be said by them.
What do you think listeners will get from your music versus what they will actually get from the music?
I feel that a lot of people today, right, want to be rappers, so they rap. Whereas to 20 years ago, when hip-hop was in more of a fresh kind of scene, or then we could go even 30, 40 years ago when it had just emerged, you rapped and then you were called a rapper. You see the slight difference, kind of? And so now people want to be the image, want to be the social identity, which comes with successfully mastering the craft of any art style, However, doing it the vice versa way, then as you point out, you get attached to the cultural associations, whether it be money or whether it be, women, or whether it be, in terms of rap specific cultures associations. But you then miss kind of, again, I guess what I tried to address in the first answer, as you noted as well, the bigger picture of what art, human expression kind of all revolve around, which is the conundrum of being that we all presently face, And so it's rather than rapping about what, personally for me, makes us separate, more so what makes us one, or what is underlyingly uniting ourselves together so that then we can be individuals and kind of stand up to stand out to stand together, if that makes sense.
Do you make your own music?
I write all my lyrics that then I do end up performing, and then the beats that I usually write over or rap over with, I specifically don't usually produce full or single-handedly or really, the bass layers at all, but I do definitely stay very incorporated and involved with the mixing side, the mastering side, doing tweakings to the instrument sounds or adjustments or locations. So definitely kind of get hands-on with the music side as well as, we'll say, the quote-unquote lyrical side. But by no means attempt to claim that this is a solo job. This is by all means a team effort. People like Forrest Murphy, Miles, a guy from Oaks last year, Davi's familiar with, Munira, Danny Avalanche, tons of just individuals that I can name countlessly here on the campus, and who I've connected with all over the world through different platforms such as SoundCloud, Apple Music, Spotify, DatPiff, etc. So I've linked up then with other artists or producers or lyricists who I don't know personally per se in the same face-to-face value, but I've established some kind of connection over, we'll call it through some kind of intermediate internet type space, which then has greatly enhanced my ability to connect to individuals far beyond my immediate time and space, like, for example, Santa Cruz right now, and also drawn inspirations from other times and places. What's cool and what's fresh going on in Germany right now? What's going on in China? What's the new music that's going on? I now, in kind of a new time and place as an artist, now it's much easier, specifically with music, to claim yourself as an artist, or you have platforms where it's easy. If you have a mic, you can be an artist just as much as anybody else these days. And it's funny from that standpoint where then you go forward, because particularly with lyrics or with rhyming, everybody can rhyme. It's not something that lacks anybody's real basic conceptual ability to do so, but it's diving into something as simple as rhyming and taking it to the next level, the deeper dimension, which ultimately brings us to something as brilliant and profound as hip-hop music culture experience,
Mm-hmm.
Chung Su says, the fish trap exists because of the fish. Once you've gotten the fish, you can forget the trap. A rabbit snare exists because of the rabbit. Once you've gotten the rabbit, you can forget the snare. Words exist because of meaning. Once you've gotten the meaning, you can forget the words. Where can I find a man who's forgotten words? I would like to have a word with him. And so, what I try to do with sound is bring us back to the silence. Because really what I feel when we become quiet inside, the more we hear outside. And right now I think there's some definite discontinuities between the communications through what we're hearing, what we're seeing, and what we're thinking. And my largely musical inspirations, as well as goals, as well as orientations from non-musical associations or connections, is really to push us beyond the space of where we identify with our minds and where we identify with our senses, and go beyond these limiting conditions, we'll say, to the totality of what is, what again cannot be named, because to name is to limit, and to label is to limit, to name is to distinguish, which is to differ from what it isn't. So words are kind of like prisms. They're like cubes, and there's an inside of the cube and there's an outside of the cube, and so no one word can encompass the whole totality of the space. In the same way that on a sheet of paper, you can't draw in more than 2 dimensions. You're familiar with this idea? Mm-hmm. Everything on a sheet of paper is going to be either up or side, one of the sides, up or down or side left.
Right.
However, you can use focal points and artistic creativity to create the presentation of 3-dimensional objects on 2 dimensions. So we can draw cubes on pieces of paper and see them in 3 dimensions, even though it's obviously a 2-dimensional surface that we're looking at. You know what I'm referring to kind of to this extent?
Yeah. But how does that come back to rapping?
In the same way, with words, you cannot go out of duality. Or you cannot go out of there's this and then there's not this. Mm-hmm. There's good and there's bad. There's right and there's wrong. There's ignorant and then there's not ignorant. All words have opposites, we'll say. And so in this frame, you cannot go out of the dualistic limiting condition of language. However, if you structure them right, in the same way how you can structure lines in the correct way, you can point to the next dimension. Or you can point to the higher organizational source, which is kind of keeping the words together. And then you can kick the ladder that you climbed up on, as Chung Su says, and then you don't need the words. There's no against. It's all with. I like to tell stories in my rhymes. That's another maybe facet. I like to take on different perspectives that aren't Cameron Johnson right here, and try to empathize. What would it be like to be a construction worker, and how would that story go? Or if I have a particular experience with some kind of individual or another member that differs obviously from my current perspective, I'll try to empathize with that and use that kind of as a starting point for songs or as means to communicate messages, but by connecting to other people. Definitely, I would, to your question, not say it's love or hate, but it's definitely closer if we're making a spectrum towards the love. I'm not really a battle rapper or going against anybody per se. I'm trying to express what is. So the goods, the bads, the rights,
Everything.
the wrongs. Yes, and at the same time, nothing. Because that's it's all you really can do.
Alright, what do you think about the rapper lifestyle? If you get all this money, would you rather live in a big ass mansion like in Beverly Hills, or would you just stay in like a nice house, like what J. Cole's doing, He just has a house in Forest Hills, not the greatest neighborhood, but he constantly says in his lyrics that he just wants to live his life and he did it for the fame instead of the money. But he had this switch before, right? So he used to be more about the money than the fame. But then he, I guess, woke up, because he always says he's woke. And now he wants to live in this neighborhood that is not known to be like a wealthy neighborhood. So what will be your take on that?
I don't make music to make money. That would be my first statement. My second would be that I live my lyrics and I write what I am. And so I try to keep as little separation between what I'm expressing, and then what I'm just living and being. So in some sense, my rap is my lifestyle, or my lifestyle is my rap. In terms of if I was to become successful, what kind of lifestyle would I want to promote or be inclined towards? I think something probably more along the lines of a lower key, as you were discussing, J. Cole, like Matrix, and I have no intentions to show off.
So what do you think about these rappers promoting like women and like money and all this stuff? Do you think it's okay to promote bad stuff to make yourself get out of a bad situation? Because that would be the argument that most people that go against rap would bring up, like these people are like bringing up like they're promoting bad stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and this goes back to our initial kind of one of the questions you asked in terms of contemporary, or I guess more so what I was talking about in terms of contemporary versus old school hip hop. But I think ideally you have a situation where somebody can tell their story, which to other ears might not be quote unquote good stuff, but to their perspective, like hustling on the streets or like doing things which now are associated as quote unquote rapper hip hop, usually referring to urban African American type organizations or interactions, etc. These have got lost in the fumble kind of as time has gone on. And so now there's a coolness about talking about that, whether you live it or not, or whether it really expresses something in your life, right? As then the original, when Nas is coming out and Tupac is coming out and they're talking about their lives, which then some people may refer to as good or bad things. It's really just kind of like a self-reflection, or they're just telling what they see to some extent, which might not be good things. But I think there's a responsibility for every artist to convey their perspective, because that's what you have that is unique, is your perspective,
Yeah, it's
your
your sound, right?
experience.
Your lyrics,
exactly,
right.
your journey. And so tell your journey, of course, in your way. And it doesn't necessarily need to, as simply said, be positive or negative or good or bad. I think I'm definitely open to all types of music. Here's something that I can then say: if you're doing what's hot now, if you're doing what's on the radio right now, you're way too late. The major musical rap content conformity towards these subjects, which you brought up multiple times, then we can money, but it's really like materialistic, male ego dominant psychosocial roles, etc.
Alright, so what do you think of female rappers nowadays?
Oh.
So this is not like...
Major fan of the female rappers. Queen Latifah, Lauryn Hill, Cardi B I have mad respect for. Even we'll go to Erykah Badu. We wouldn't even maybe call her a rapper, but she can spit some bars every now and then. These are major influences, and I think really important, and I would hope that now that music itself or art has kind of been expanded to more so all peoples in general, as we were talking about earlier, that it would give an opportunity for more women to appear seriously upon the scene. I think people like Cardi B are setting a good example for ways to do that, per se,
So you see how these female rappers talk about men like men talk about women. So it's a reverse type of role.
I think that it slightly goes back to the last question again, that you should tell your journey and
Yeah,
your
your
story.
story,
And
right?
so if
Yep.
you're a female, you obviously aren't going to have the same content base if you're a male artist, you know, because you have a different perspective thus, and then a different universe and a different experience.
Right, but do you think that the arguers against rap culture, do you think they have a basis to say this about and bring out this point about female oppression when these female rappers are coming up nowadays and they're talking about men? Do you think these women could be used as an argument against these people that are talking about against rap culture? Because at the end of the day, it is equal when women talk about guys too in the same industry.
Yeah, I mean, if the question is it fair for women to shit talk men like
Yeah,
men should talk women? Yes, if even more so encouraged, because they're doing it with a language which isn't theirs. And the fact is that his history is his story. And so I'm all about promoting and welcoming women to the stage, because they have been the serious repressed individuals for the last 6,000 to 10,000 years on the, the surface of this globe. And so 1,000%. And at the same time, hoping to transcend just the talk bad about the other sex back and forth, hope to create some kind of
Unity,
yes, and transformation of that, go into a new topic. And that being said too, rap being one of the newest genres, I think a lot of the critique that it gets is due to that fact. What new genre of music has ever come out that hasn't been debated, that hasn't been in contestants? And we could see a newer form of music, which we call electronica, or kind of EDM house type music, having the same similar reaction. You have those that love it and those that hate it, and you could go deep into that. You could also take it back before rap, and you could go to rock and roll.
Right.
Same type of reactions. You could go to jazz. Same type of reactions. And so it's any new genre which pushes the boundaries of what's acceptable and possible has as much positive response as it does then the critiques as well, because it impinges on those very boundaries which keep a lot of the institutional structures in place today.
So your name is Quadroon, right?
Quadroon.
Quadroon. So you want to talk about the meaning of that? Because I know you're 1/4 black, right?
Quadroon is a word that was created to trace a lineage of African Americans, particularly in slave times. So yes, I'm a quarter black. I look what most people would refer to as white. And so in that instance, I was the quote unquote lucky one in slave times, and I had a chance to manipulate through the system. However, they then came up with terms such as quadroons, octoons, mulattoes, etc., to trace the lineage of African Americans that would still be deemed slaves who didn't look black per se.
Right.
So yes, that is the historical heritage of the word.
So nowadays, it's the rap stigma is you have to be black to be a rapper. But there's many white rappers that could spit, like Eminem, Logic. One thing that Logic always refers to is how there's this reverse racism in rap culture.
It's a good topic for conversation. The mixed background is an interesting perspective to come from, because it is I don't have an easy place of identification. And even being a quarter black, calling myself Quadroon as an artist, I'm clearly identifying with some part of my heritage, but I'm also not discluding the other 75% of whatever I genetically relate to. And so what's interesting is that I think what you said in terms of the stigma of being black in the hip-hop scene and that being necessary to be good, I think that of the last 10 years, or maybe we could even say 15, has been not fully broken down, but broken down to such a larger barrier where I really wouldn't consider it one anymore. And now there's as many, if not more, white fans of rap than there are, honestly, quote-unquote black fans, what you would deem as that as well. So in that sense, I think I'm not personally worried about that. However, I always feel, and I'm always stoked on it, that when I say I'm a rapper, I can feel the instant judgment of oh yeah, so is my buddy back home. He has a SoundCloud, and just this undervaluement of whatever the potential could be. And this could also be part of maybe not just how I look, but as well as the fact that there are just more artists out there, so it's less of a surprise to meet one, and thus then your expectation is lowered of their abilities.
Right.
But I love it, because then you set the bar lower for me. I just have a greater chance and ability to surpass it and break through it.
Rappers usually talk about gangs and guns and killing people, because they've been through that. But there are those rappers that haven't been through that and claim to have like you said, it's about your journey, your story. Going back to the first question, what if they didn't go through that, but they're trying to say that they went through that just to get the fame? Do you think that's valid? Do you think that's still like an expression of who you are?
I think that all pilgrims have to take their own paths, but all paths lead to the same place. And so I'm not judging per se, or I have no intention, or I have no desire to judge those who make hip-hop culture or rap that you just expressed, who then I openly would say I'm not going to listen to or really pursue or look for in any means. But I won't judge them, because I feel that's not I don't want to say proper place to come from, but compassionate place to come from, or passionate place. And so make whatever you want to make. I think what's legit and real will stick, as it seemingly somewhat has. And what's fake will also have an underlying, lingering presence as well, within the atmosphere, but I think is much less legitimized and much easily or more clearly seen as kind of a fog or a haze which overlays the real, and that's, we could take this on this whole conversation, is that the talk between rap and trap per se, or this breakdown, is these underlying assumptions that there is a quote unquote real rap and there's like a not real rap, and like I don't really see it as much as that. Like I think it's all real. I think the genre will change as time goes on, just like with everything else, and to that extent encourage these different styles. And if some of the styles are these more so fake, corny, poppy type mass attracting club bang slapping 808 slamming
Shit, Gucci
stuff,
gang.
yeah, exactly,
man.
then that's cool. I think again, what's real will last, and you can see fashions fade out, but style is eternal.
Do you have comments in SoundCloud?
SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Tidal, YouTube Music, Groover, Pandora, Deezer, on all of these.
What were the response to your music?
What are the responses? I don't think my following is large enough as to where I could give you a large consensus answer, but what I can say is that often I get responded with, my passion is clearly seen, and I stand out as doing something which isn't the typical way that you would do what I guess they classify as hip-hop or rap or something. And so that I definitely embrace and do see as a typical response of just difference, I guess. And so that can then be responded with different as in I liked it, or different as in this was crap, And so it comes both ways for sure. I don't attract the same mainstream attention of certain
Little whatever.
little whatever, like there's definitely a large chunk of what we consider rap listeners that I don't touch with, I don't think, at least right now.
Do you think your audience get what you're trying to express through your music?
My music's like a mirror. You see what you are. So I don't have a specific, this is what I'm saying, this is how it's supposed to be taken, this is the message, because it's just as much made on what I put in as then what you put in when you listen, like we're talking right now.
He's the Bible.
It's just a mirror, yeah. So I have no idea, and that's not even, whatever interpretation you come with my music is correct, or is right, or is proper,
What do you think of Trump's tweets and Kanye's response?
It's hard to look at either of those things that you just mentioned and not walk away crying or smiling, because those are really the only what seemingly is appropriate responses in the moment. But I mean,
Trump is a retard, but he's not a puppet. I definitely don't think he's a puppet. And most politicians are puppets from like their political party or whatnot. So what Kanye's trying to say is that he's not gonna say that he's a conservative. He just doesn't want to be manipulated by the system, which is also seen in most of his music. And yes, Trump is retarded, and Kanye, by saying those tweets, in my opinion, is endorsing the wrong guy, but he's definitely endorsing the right ideal, like not being manipulated by the political system. So I definitely think that rappers nowadays are having more political influence. They're majority black, and the minority, they're being oppressed, and like most of his music right now, it's coming out, it's usually talking about oppression and how black people have to rise up, as Tentacion would say.
I agree. I think that politics and music are becoming more intertwined, and I think that the real change never occurs in the political space. The political space always follows the real change. And right now in the office, there's a bunch of guys looking at polls right now, and that's cool, but it's the after effect. It's the consequence. It's not where the actual change is being implemented per se. Take it with a pinch of salt is how I try to go about it. And at the same time, like you're saying, yes, not value or really promote any of Trump's ideals or maybe largely his perspective or values that he holds. However, at the same time, accept that he is where he is, and there's only so much we can do about that, and that he really, as you said, is one player of a large play going on right now. And to get too caught up on one individual is to make just as much a mistake as it would be to then.
You see how Frank Ocean came out in the rap, in his album, and he was pretty much shitted on, except by Odd Future, you know, his fucking squad or whatnot. So what do you think of that? Like, what do you think of, like, rappers nowadays, like, coming out and, like, their lyrics or whatnot? Do you think... I definitely think that's a positive thing. But most people, like, also, again, it's the fucking stigma, you know, like...
Yeah, no, it's tight that that's becoming not only something which can be socially acceptable, but then culturally supported. And, like, to your extent, yeah, Frank caught a lot of shit, and at the same time, there's millions of people that would die to see Frank and touch his hand for 2 seconds, you know? And so at the same time, I definitely agree with you and think that as a youth generation, as being 3 representatives right now of the younger generation to some extent, or one subset of it, I think that the boundaries of acceptances, especially regarding sexuality and gender, are dissolving.
That's good.
Exactly. It's all positive.
Yeah.
This is all positive
Shit.
motions and movements into terms of becoming more collaborative rather than competitive.
Right. But I just feel like once the new generation pushes, the old generation pushes back. It's this back and forth situation.
Yes.
Old
And that's
generation-
always interesting because
But
the
they pass down,
generations
like,
are
the
always
ideas.
changing. Exactly, yes. How the information gets passed down is interesting.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about, right? Like,
Very.
shit always changes, like, through time.
Yes. Everything is falling apart. Yeah.
I said, empty your mind.
Empty your mind.
Be formless, shapeless.
Alright, we got Quadroon Johnson here with the freestyle.
Yeah.
It's not an easy skill to learn.
It's the Q, U,
practicing it
A, D, R, double O, N. Yeah, double O, N. Yeah, we about to flow with no pen. Oh shit, homie, I think he about to go in. I think he about to go in. Check, it's like, picture me sitting 12 years old, young fro, just writing about some dough in my diary. I'm finna be letting still fears go. I come home with the stress given to me by society. Like, little do they know, we don't. Brittle is the phone that they hold, cause they told. Will they ever get this message? Ain't no text. I sit here, sip beer, shit deal. What's next? I don't know, so I don't worry. With understanding as a lens, the world looks blurry. So why hurry? Collide with emotion, your mind is in ocean. Subscribe to that motion, enlightenment is a crime. I'm fighting the given time, I'm writing the given rhyme. Divine is the moment. Decide you don't want it, I'll take it. I'd rather play your game instead of watch you break it. It's like these rhymes, my personality got penetrate and penetrate real while these other rappers been a fake. Demonstrate my demonstrate, let them hate to leave them late. While I bullseye on the center stage, blow the whistle one time, you better wait. So the single folk time, now you clever bait. Observe the coordination of these corporations full of loopy loony toony motherfuckers. I set them straight. Maneuver through maneuver with my hand at the mic. Do the light make the stars? Do the stars make the light? Not sure what's going on, but I know it ain't right. No, I know it ain't right. Like realize then release what you give, what you receive. There's not a piece in my genes I would give up for the green. I'm not a rapper, not a bard, not a preacher, just me. I've heard tales of this kind. Do they live up to the speech? I think we know the answer. This question marks our plague, but we should hold the banter. I think we chose this cancer, cause it had to be this way. Ayy, 2 a.m. in the basement, need me but don't chase it. Seize the guy, don't waste it. Bleed the pain, can't erase it. Used to be a true A-list, nowadays I just say shit. I don't know where I wanna go, but I wanna make sure that I ain't complacent. Like, why are you watching me? Thinking about stopping me. Drinking your scotch and tea. Thinking philosophy. Still in the possibly. Blinking it probably. Linking I stop to be charming just like. Why you watching me think about stepping me, drinking my scotch and tea, think of philosophy, still in the possibly building monopoly, thinking that probably thinking I stopped to be torn, just thoughts as the dormant, I'm off of me, torn, I'm off to see foreign dichotomy, following, awkwardly falling, like arteries frolicking, killing these mockingbirds calling me. It when the rocket solace me, pocket your pocketbird swarming like wannabe, still at the top of its forming prophecies. Who do you call when you won't call? Where do you go when you're already home? I was never about the plays, it wasn't my way. Never about the pay, ducking school or getting laid. Fuck the club, only parties in my soul right now. One day I'll have the catalyst sold right out. Yes, and now I'm rapping about Patrick, call him a star. I'm about to get it fat, he's got a pick, but no guitar. You could call it the wick, cause I'm so lit. We about to get this bitch like infinite, I'm finna finite. But these rhymes might finish because I'm tight as the water bottle cap when it hasn't been screwed off. I'm loose like I got a couple screws off. Up in my dome piece, I use these beats to assault cops. Because fuck them, motherfucker, I come around, I can't bust them. I keep my middle finger up, you could say I truck them. I do this shit for my main man, Davi, you trust this. And justice is coming, baby.
Alright. So the first question we tackled in the interview was, what does it mean to be a rapper? And Karen talks about this community rap ideal where he touches upon this concept of uniqueness and how one sound should be unique to their lifestyle. I think that's really interesting because everybody's different, everybody has their own voice, and nowadays it just seems that everybody's trying to copy each other in order to get this fame. And like Cameron said, the social identity is leading to the rap instead of the rap leading to the social identity, which was made in older times like Tupac or Nas. I personally don't like the way rap is going right now, but I also like it because of the uniqueness of it. It might be kind of hypocritical for me to say. What do you think?
I think rap is like a form of self-expression, and that's really important. Is like the self part is that it comes from yourself, and like any other piece of art, it's gonna be unique to you. And I think that's what makes it so important, is that it's about the self, it's about the art you're creating and how people are gonna perceive it, because everyone's gonna perceive it differently because they all have a different perspective.
But a lot of rappers, if you ask them, have different purposes. Like some of them want to teach the kids being a good influence or whatnot, and others just want that rich lifestyle, which is okay.
Yeah.
It's completely okay. But that kind of takes away from the uniqueness, in my opinion, when people are just trying to like copy each other in order to make money. But like Cameron said, everybody has their own stuff going on. So we just gotta respect it. You don't gotta like it, you just gotta respect it.
Like any form of art, like take a painting for example, you don't have to like it, but you don't want to take away from like the time that the artist put into like creating it, you know?
Exactly. So you just gotta appreciate it, not hate. You know, like, you don't have to love it, you don't have to listen to it. I just don't think people have the right to bash on them just because they don't like this specific trend that's been going around, which includes me. So yeah, I definitely think Karen has a good point there.
I've been doing ever since I was different, a young kid feeling like a kitten, because my whispers come out, but I'm spitting it now. I hear the whispers dumb down, cause they listening now. I'm spitting it now, ripping it down. I be doing this ish ever since I was a young kid. I was come in ever since I was dumb wits. This stump pick.
The next topic he talks about be what he want the listeners to get from his music versus what the listeners actually get from his music. Not everybody's gonna receive the same message that Cameron is trying to like convey. So I think it's a slippery slope right there.
Yeah, and I think you could kind of take it for like its surface value, like you listen to a song and it's like, okay, it has a cool beat or whatever. But then like, I think sometimes it takes like more than one listening to really like hear what the artist is trying to convey to the listeners.
So it has to be like an active listening.
Yeah,
like,
you can't just like listen to it just to listen to it. Like you have to listen to it like knowing that there's a message somewhere in there.
Right.
Yeah, so I ain't about the money, but if you put it in front of me, I ain't gonna turn around. Now shit, I ain't a dummy, I ain't so fun, but I like to have fun. See, I do all this shit, I play you like a game of rummy. Tryna do this shit, but I got this improvement in my tummy. You could call it boiling, you could call it stoiling, you could call it foiling. Your plan, I do it's like aluminum. Yes, I be proving them, bruising them like the beat. I leave the mic up in the cloud of defeat. Motherfucker, you can't compete. You can't compete. Davey, bring it back with word. I got some heat.
He also touches on this topic of 2D versus 3D. I think was pretty cool analogy right there, or juxtaposition, because he's saying that this 2D ideal would be pretty much the words put into paper, but once you move it into a three-dimensional space, those words don't matter anymore. It's more about the ideal that was put into them.
The words kind of carry the message.
Yes.
And like you could listen to the words, but you have to like understand. It's weird. Yeah, but yeah, I get
Yeah,
it.
but once the message gets across, the words don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's the ideal can't die. Because your words have already expressed that message.
Yes. Sometimes I close these dumb eyelids and think about all the fucking gun violence in this one trident. I can't even put it together cause I'm feeling like a titan. When I hop up on the beat, I see the horizon. When I hop up on the beat, I see Verizon. Because I'm wireless, motherfuckers, I'm tired of this. I'm trying to bring it back and I screech like the tires numb it.
The next question Cameron was asked was about this J. Cole type of woken ideal of if you had the choice to endorse a lifestyle, would you rather endorse a rich lifestyle or would you endorse the humble lifestyle that promotes the neighborhood where you live, where you struggle? You're pretty much bringing back to the community by saying that, hey, I'm gonna stick with you guys because you guys were there at the rough times. So at the good times, I'm also gonna be there for you guys. I think that's the ideal J. Cole is trying to portray here, but kind of doesn't make that much sense to me because you're trying to make the music to get out of the hood, but it also makes me feel bad because you have to leave the hood. So it's like the hood is being portrayed as bad.
You want to work hard enough to get yourself out of that situation. But then like in J. Cole's instance, he doesn't have a problem with like still working hard and kind of staying in that space. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm gonna refer back to a lot of rapping stuff like NWA. Ice Cube gave shit to Eazy-E because Eazy-E was out the hood doing money, got away from Compton. Ice Cube still lived in Compton. He quote unquote said that Eazy-E is hanging out with all these white people and no other N-word. It just brings back to that idea, like should you leave the hood because you're trying to get away from the hood when you make music, or should you stick with the hood because they made your music possible?
I think it's like you can like leave the hood, but you can't forget about it. You can't just ignore that. You can't ignore that. Like that's where you came from. That's where you struggled.
Yeah, your roots, right?
Yeah.
I do the shit for individuality. I leave rappers feeling casually casualtied. That doesn't make sense, but I try to bring it back like I have a bida. Got it right back, and I sip like the puer. Yes, I do this. Are you scared? You should be. Yes, I'm feeling somewhat lucky. You could be, but motherfuckers can't come up me.
The next topic that we went over with Cameron would be this idea of female rappers being in the industry. And you as a female, what do you think about this topic?
I think it's important because it is a male-dominated industry and women have always been a part of it. I think their art hasn't gotten as much attention though because it might not be like as gaudy as like what the men are producing. But they do provide a really, really important perspective because like he was saying, like it's a narrative of their own. And there are really important and underrated women artists right now, like Princess Nokia, Cupcake, Cardi B, Azalea Banks, and they're not afraid to be vulgar in the way that like these men artists have always kind of been. And I think that's important because they're owning their sexuality, they're owning like the power that they like have amounted to. And
so what do you think when rappers say the word bitch, you know? Like, and when these female rappers come back at these men and call them dogs or whatnot, which is like the male version of a bitch, right?
I think it depends on the context of when you use bitch, you know? When you use bitch and you're referring to a woman, it depends on what you're saying about her too. Because a lot of times, there's kind of two spectrums. For a long time, women have been objectified in this industry, you know? Like, we see it in music videos, we hear it in their lyrics. And I think now that women are able to come back and like kind of defend themselves or share their perspective, calling men dogs, I mean... Yeah. They are, but you know. So they're bringing more attention to that.
Okay. So what I was trying to say is, do you think it'll be a better approach for male rappers to stop saying words like bitch, or do you think it should be equal, as in female rappers should come up and say the word dog and just equalize the spectrum? So
they could equalize the spectrum, but I think ultimately, like, whatever I say isn't gonna. Share your story however you want to share it. Just keep in mind that people are going to be listening to what you produce. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You ain't gonna get me with that lum rhyme, cause I'm coming back like one time. I do it crisscross, I sit it like a jack. I spit it like that. You could write it, it's a rap, but you could fight it, download it in your Mac. You could bite it, prove that it ain't whack. But you can do it on my SoundCloud. The time's ticking, going around the now. Find me, QUADROONA.
So the next topic Cameron was talking about was reverse racism. There's this stigma in rapping that you have to be black in order to be a good rapper, which is not true at all because there's many white rappers that are killing it. What's your take on that?
I don't think reverse racism exists.
You don't think so?
No. I think there's no reverse racism. It's just that the image that's been created about a rap artist has always been like this black, super macho man who flexes his money, who flexes his women, who like came from the hood and is now like living in a mansion. We're breaking down a lot of those stigmas, you know, there's more women entering the industry, there's more people who are coming out who are in the industry, there's white rappers coming into the industry, and there's all these different intersections that are breaking down what we think is like the rapper. You know, like that image of the rapper. And a lot of times I think there's still people coming into the industry who are putting on that image. And not that they don't have anything important to bring into the industry. It's just that now you have more people who are kind of coming in.
So rap is like a medium for these people to express themselves.
Yeah.
Right? But do you think this change is coming from the world to rap or from the rap to the world? Do you think these people that came out on rap that are being unique in rap would be unique without these changes being portrayed in like the global scale, if it would just be rap instead of like the world then rap? So like a rap in Africa is probably going to be way different than a rap in the United States,
Yeah,
right?
because they live different experiences, so they have different things to say.
So would you say that rap is like westernized?
Yeah, it started here, but then I think like everything, the world just adopts anything that the Western world creates.
Mm.
And
There's little twists.
there's a little twist in it.
I got a fat spit for my main man Patrick. Read him today, and that's shit. That's it. I know that's it. I'm feeling like a fat kid because I eat up this beat like it was a piece of cake. And I know that I sometimes make mistakes, but I know that I sometimes need this place. But I know that I sometimes lose my pace. I be finding it back in the eyes upon my face, losing it back in myself. I find my race, so I just keep running.
Cameron talks to us about would be this idea of political rapping and how rappers nowadays have become more visible and more vocal, streamed in the media for their political views, which is good. Everybody should have a political view.
Everyone's entitled to
Yeah.
their own political view.
And black people have been oppressed for many, many, many centuries. And I think rap could bring a light to this and inform these kids that don't look at news and don't go in the media or don't try to actively pursue knowledge to get into something cool and get some information out of it. And I think that's pretty amazing.
I think rap serves as a really good platform because it's so consumed by our generation. Rap is good for bringing your attention to politics, but I don't think it always has to determine how you feel your opinion on politics. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to unless you let it.
I feel that. I think it's cool because you could be in a car ride with a friend and just, bump the latest music, which is Kendrick, S.O.B. You could just listen to one lyric that could change your entire perspective of something,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just because you were listening to something cool and something that was portrayed by the media by somebody that you could sympathize with or empathize with. And I think that's what rap is doing. It's opening up many doors for kids.
Rap is important because it shares with you these experiences that maybe you're not going to live through. You could be listening to rap and you never had a friend who was shot by police, but because you're hearing how this artist who experienced this situation
Makes you empathize.
Yeah, it makes you
feel bad,
empathize,
right?
and it opens up your eyes to maybe situations that you're not going to encounter in your lifetime.
It's called a collision course with ammunition, cause I'm spitting this lyrical ammunition. I meant to say immunity, I meant to say doing this shit, but truly we just be here, it's you and me, and plus the duo 3, the duo becomes 3, I get it like a trinity, sitting in divinity, call it infinity, I be doing all this shit off the T.O.P. Let's go to top, mother fool, pass me the rock.
Cameron also talked about this concept of to name is to limit, and that could also be seen on his Quadroon name, right? Because Quadroon was used, like he said, to categorize the little black that was left in these mixed people.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that this topic of categorization that we also touched in class comes into rap a lot because rappers are often categorized because of their race or because of where they live or their money status.
Like class, gender, race, like all that shit is so prevalent in like our society because like we've made it, we've titled it that, we've given it that power over us. Even with like
Blessing in disguise.
everything. Shit only has meaning because we give it meaning. We give it a name. We give it value. We give it worth.
Right, and unfortunately, these boards have been bad in the U.S., right? So they have the potential, they just haven't been used properly until now, but that's changing.
And I think breaking a lot of these stigmas has been more common in rap culture lately, and I think it's because you can see rap like as a reflection of what's like going on in our society.
They're rapping about their lifestyle.
Yeah.
If they get this, it's just an intermission. This is just a mission. It's called a collision course with ammunition, cause I'm spitting this lyrical ammunition. I meant to say immunity, I meant to say doing this shit, but truly we just be here. It's you and me, and plus the duo 3, the duo becomes 3. I get it like a trinity, sitting in divinity, call it infinity. I be doing all this shit off the T.O.P. Let's go to top. Motherfool, pass me the rock.
Alright guys, thank you for listening. This has been the Rap Culture Group. This is Davi signing off.
This is Cassandra signing off.
And this is Patrick signing off.
Substance abuse.
Yeah. Whoo! Fuck it. I'm abused like the substance. Kicking this ruckus, I know that I'm something. I keep corrupting, I keep something under my pocket. I think they got it, I think they have it, I think they lost it. They think I want it, but I really don't. I'm silly dope. Writing with this silly hope, it's in my heart, beating like the lightning. I feet on the start. I know that I ain't like it, so I read and I rip it apart. I read and I rip it apart from the start.
Racism.
Yeah. Yes. My face stinkins when I see this freaking racism. I know that this shit ain't a freaking choice. But I know that this shit ain't a freaking voice, so I try to use mine. I try to choose mine. I try to use mine to spread joys, to try to put it all together like toys, Legos, Edo. I got it like Egos, cause you can't Lego, motherfuckers. They try to say ahead though. I'm like arpeggios, only going up, flowing what? I feel like the golden sun, rising above everything else. Coming down, living in this scary hell.
Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Trump. Looking like Donald Duck with them funkin' chunky lips. I'm feeling like I fucked it up, but I fuck with this. I run it up, yeah, I run a list. I love to get this shit just off my mind. I'm lost in time, I'm feeling like eternity. Yeah, you probably never heard of me. Sometimes they call me Cameron Burgundy. Oh shit though, you really gotta get that to keep it. That's how that goes. She go down like Cam. I didn't know you had 2 afros, but oh shit, supposed to keep that personal. You know how that goes. They living in my shadow. Yeah, they know how that goes. They chilling in the back row. I hear them from the back seat, popping like the acne, blowing like the backwood. Motherfucker, come at me. You cruising like a taxi. I'm looking so happy cause I got this afro and Cam can flow. I do this and that's like the half, yo, cause I still got a full tank coming. I still ain't stopping, I still am running, I still ain't topping what I said something a couple minutes ago, cause I still am coming back with these stunning raps, and I come it back with 100 stacks, counting on the time. I've been feeling on the top of this mountain all the time, cause I climb and I rhyme like the man, I'm divine. I know my man Dave got another word, so we can go continue this verse. You know, you heard it first right here on that podcast.
Class.
Class. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I was skipping stones like I was skipping class. I was living at home like I was living in an ass. Couldn't do it for the cash, but I'm feeling last. I'm feeling like I got it in the glass. Cause sometimes I swig it, sometimes I spit it, sometimes I live it. It's called the moment, the message, it's everywhere. Sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's very clear. In this merry air, I'm feeling that together we got very hair, right here. Yeah, it's right here, it's right here. Yeah, nowhere else, nowhere to help. I'm feeling like I got a show, but won't tell. I'm feeling like a Dave Chappelle. What does that mean? I don't know. But can't you tell that I didn't know from the start? Yeah. Can't you tell that this coming from the heart? Can't you tell that I ain't thought this up before? But I make it on the spot. Yeah.
Influence.
I make it on the spot. Make it on the spot, yes. Sometimes I get in this space. Sometimes I get in this noose. Sometimes I get in this trance. Sometimes I get influenced. Sometimes I try to get in my student mind. Sometimes I'm fluent as the fluids in my spine. Sometimes I'm sipping like the wine. Sometimes I'm ripping like the page, I'm divine. And we know that this podcast could go longer. Put me on the beat, my muscles rise, I'm feeling stronger. Where's the bong or something else? I'm feeling that I King Konged her. Cause she looking like a T-Rex. I'll see you in these specs. Feeling like Specs Rex. Because I detect this. Inspect the deck.